It's Tuesday, y'all. It is Tuesday. And what do we do on Tuesdays? We have candid conversations. So, as you tune in, whether you are watching live or you catch the replay, do me a huge favor and like the video. Okay? Say hi and like. Hey girl, let me like this video. That's what I need you to do. Like the video. And if you catch this on replay, I need you to watch the whole video. Even if you're not watching it, act as if it's a podcast and just have it playing in the background and catch your nuggets as they drop. So, thank you for doing that in advance. So, I am your girl, Shy. We are still in our five part series. Today we are on part four. Somebody say part four. Part four. We're on part four today. And if you like, girl, I done missed some parts or all the parts, whatever it may be, go on and watch them. Okay. You can even go directly to the playlist, the Candid Conversation playlist, and listen to them all, watch them all. Your pick. Okay. God bless you. But when you do, make sure you like the video. You like the video. That's what I'm asking you to do. Like the video, and I will love for you to share the video um, with someone. So, this is our fourth part of the five-part series, The Whole Woman. And I am sharing just different things that God led me to share last week. I talked about being a wife, being married. And today I am going to be talking about how I show up, how I show up in the world, how I show up for others, just me as a person, and what that looks like and have looked like in different types of relationships, situations, and um, just different times in life. So, part four, and let's talk about it. So, before I start, mark your calendars, March 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Cry Out is going virtual this year. So if you was in the building last year, we are doing it virtual this year. You will we do want you to register to gain access, and you will get your reminder emails, but I would love for you to join us and be a part of Cry Out 2026 virtual just in a few weeks. So mark your calendars, March 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. And then also, I want you to save the dates for, yes, a lot of save the dates. So when somebody asks you, do you have something on this date? I'm already there. This year, the experience is going to be November 6th and 7th. November 6th and 7th. There may be a pop up virtually on the 5th. Maybe. So just go ahead and put that in there too. But 6th and 7th in person for the experience. And we have something coming up in the month of April for you as well. I'm excited about what God is doing. I want to encourage anyone that is out there and you know God has called you to something, but you may be in a season where you feel burdened down by what God has called you to. And I want you to know that that's the trick of the enemy, and I need you to reposition yourself and to change your mindset, because God is not going to give you something that makes you feel heavy and feel like it's a burden in that capacity. I want you to go back in prayer and Be real with yourself so that you could be real with God, and look at what's really behind that. We already know that whatever God gives us, it's going to be too big for us to do alone. And so I can understand, I can relate to, um, being frustrated, trying to figure out the resources and all those things. But when you give it back to God because He gave it to you, it works itself out. Okay. It works itself out because He has already prepared a way. So I want you to be encouraged, not just to feel good, but to go back, so that you don't miss the responsibility and what God has given you in this season. So, March 28th, save the date. November 6th and 7th, save the date. And I'll let you know about the other upcoming stuff. It is free to join, just so you know. It's free. It's still a prayer and worship service. So there is no charge for that. And we just want you to be in the building, because crying out to God, a lot of us stop crying out. Some of us need to cry out. And then also just to see our sisters get replenished and get what they need from God, and to see God not just giving us things, but for us to do our part and to continue to give Him our yes. So cry out. Definitely go ahead and sign up for that. We just want to get that head count and all the things. And I'm also going to um drop the link in the comments, so that way you like, girl, I got my spot. You can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so I went ahead and put the link there. And then, okay, I know I gave it a title. Okay. Part 4, being there for others. So last year I learned something about myself. And at first I was like, this ain't it. That like that let's take this survey again, whatever the case may be. But the more that I leaned into it and heard others, um, your girl was freed. And so, um, how I show up for others and how I am there for others have changed, drastically, because what I learned in that personality test was that I'm a people pleaser. And that my definition of people pleaser was, whatever somebody said, you do it. You're just looking for, um, you know, someone to affirm you and all the things. And I was like, I am not no people pleaser, because I can care less about the people like that. You know what I mean? And um, I heard someone said, that's what I thought. And then they said, but I realized I was doing stuff that I should have said no to. I was doing stuff that I didn't have the capacity for. I was doing things that was taking time away from the thing that I should have been focused on. And when they said that, I was like, then maybe I am. Then maybe I am. And so a lot of things in my personal relationships changed because of that, because I was able to see Pastor Mike Jr. has a song that says, and it mentions, I'm the problem, like yourself being the problem. Okay. And immediately I took accountability, and I had to do something that I wasn't so quick to do before. It was let things and people go. To know me is to know, like, I'm a principal type of person. One plus one is going to equal two. And if it don't, we're gonna have a conversation about it. If there was a problem and I know there was a problem, when you come to me, we can't talk about nothing else until we discuss the problem, and then we can move on. That's the type of person I am. Ain't we not about to say something over here, but then when you see me in person, it's a whole different vibe. Even in that, I learned some people ain't even worth the conversation because they ain't gonna get it no way. So let it go. So with that being said, there were some relationships that I chose to let go. And it wasn't me making a declaration like, oh, I'm no longer doing this, or I'm no longer hanging out with them. It was as simple as me realizing that if I was not the one making an effort, nothing wasn't happening anyway. And also that the principal part of me, like, well, you ain't got to talk to me, but I'm still talk to so and so. And it was to a point where, like, let that go too. Because at the beginning and end of the day, as an adult and as a parent, if I make a choice and decision to, it could be anything. Let's just go. If I give the example of if I made a choice to move away, and because as an adult I made that choice to move away, that now means any relationships that my kid have, they're going to be impacted because there's more of an effort that has to be made, and she has no choice but to go with it because I made I made that choice and decision. So I had to put that hat on for other people. As much as I wanted to hold on to, you ain't got to talk to me, but your kid, I still want to be cool with them, or blah, 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 just letting it all go. And also, for me, it was like, okay, the more I sat with it and I understood it, where did this come from? Like, because again, I'm thinking, I'm looking for people to affirm me. I'm like, people please, blah, blah, blah. But when I think of the stuff that I was doing, and in the intent was pure. Um, it was in my heart to do it, but I did not have the capacity, and I pushed myself. Um, and it was insane. So I've learned that even if my heart is pure and I want to show up for you, I want to support you and all of the things, if it comes down to that I can't, for me to be able to identify that, share that if need be, and figure out a different way to support you, but understanding that I cannot be everywhere. And sometimes, even if I may not be doing something, but I don't have the capacity to show up, whether it is mentally, whether it is physically, for me to, in the words of Medea, sit down somewhere. Because at the beginning and end of the day, it is only one of me. It is only one of me. And not one time did I blame other people. I immediately said, I am the problem. I am the problem because this is how I showed up. This is who they just know me to be. And all they did was run with it. Never blamed anybody else. Fixed it, but didn't blame nobody else. And so that was huge for me. And now, because I was already good at saying no in some capacities, now I would say it's a educated no. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I could be available, but tired, just zapped out. I'm like, all right, let me get dressed, let me and sometimes you just have to say no and sit it out. So that was one of the things last year I identified about myself, and then going back to where did this come from, I thought about how I grew up. And if you know any part of my story, I talk about parentification and taking on that so much responsibility at a young age, taking that on as who you are, and you're not able to drop people and things, for me, turned into me identifying that, girl, you pleasing the people, you pleasing the people, you are pleasing the people. And I I'm glad I was able to, and identify it, go back to where it came from, and to learn from it, not to hide from it, not to act like it don't exist, and all of the things. So, um, I'm fast forward, fast forward. Um, Before I even respond, I ask myself, is this something you even want to do? I don't care if it's supported or not. Is this something you want to do? And then is it something you have the capacity to do? And it just all of the things. So um if you well, not if you, let me know if you have I been able to identify something major, um, that you just thought, this is who I am, and this is how I'm showing up, and this is how I do the things. And I'm thankful. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, but I will say this, it ain't that much work in progress. So I will say that it's not that much work in progress. So um how I show up for others, and um let me get the being there for others, learning how to be there for others, and not allowing it to take away from you or your responsibilities within your family. It's a good balance. And um I've learned that some people, outside of me just showing up like this is who I am, I learned that some people personally didn't have a um in my head I'm saying like a off switch or something like that, because they expected me, no matter what season I was in my life, no matter what I had going on, they expected me to show up as the same person every single time. And I'm like, that is impossible. And I don't know why you putting that expectation on me." So I also got to see how other people viewed me. And again, taking responsibility where I need to, but also seeing that if we are not aware of who we are and how we are showing up, not on purpose, but we can allow people to mistreat us, or we can allow people to take advantage of us because we're just being this person. And so I often say it is necessary to do self assessments to see where you are at, what are you doing in life, just all of the things. Are you growing? Are you stuck? And if you're not, what's going on? All of the things. So um, that was the first thing. If you know me, I have notes. Another thing I I think this was last year was 25. This is probably 24 going into 25. But uh pretty much today I'm going to be talking about how I show up for people and the things that I just learned about myself, which may affect or impact how I show up for others. And so I learned that though some of those relationships that I let go of, I remember someone asked me if I still talk to a specific person. I was like, no, we don't talk. To know me is to know. You will never know why I'm no longer in relationship, friendship, or with anybody. You will never know that unless you are like a core person and I am just updating you, because I don't go around talking about people like that, saying stuff. I just don't. And so they was just like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, no, uh, we don't talk. And they're, oh, okay. And I said, but honestly, I think it was a positive for both of us. I said, because now they're able to grow and explore, outside of that dynamic. And, for myself, the opposite. And I said, so for people to grow and to see that they're capable or able or whatever the case may be, that's always a blessing. And then also, so that's one part. And what I also realized in how you show up for people, I don't want anyone calling me more than they're calling God. I am not your you're connected to God. Uh I'm not your waymaker. I'm not your source. I want to, because of being connected to me, I want to give back to people that no matter if your life is up or your life is down, if you done walked away from God, you always have room to come back to Him. That's what I want to give people. Not that by being connected to me and because of who I am and what I do. No, 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 no. So sometimes, if we're not careful, we can become someone's God, because every time there's a problem, they're calling you. Every time there's a concern, they're calling you. Every time they have to make a decision, they're calling you. Every time. And if you don't watch it, you're just, oh, well, this is, what I think, or, I'm gonna pray about it for you. But you're never directing them or asking them, have you prayed about this? Or what do you think? And indirectly, you can become someone's God. And so, again, for me, not just growth on my behalf, but I think that's growth on other people's behalf as well, because at the beginning and end of the day, the desire to see people grow and develop into walk in purpose and to know the assignment that God has placed on their life. Um, all of the things. One of the stories in the Bible that just came to me is, I'm about to look it up. Um, I believe it's Joseph, but while I look that up, I'll just keep it going. Um, so we want to um, just be mindful. Again, it's okay to have community, to be supportive, all of the things, but we have to make sure that we are not indirectly being um, someone's God. Yeah, it is Joseph, the story that was running through my head. Um, Sometimes, which is why it's important to seek God, spend time with God to know who you are, because sometimes people will identify your gifts and your talents and how they're beneficial and will benefit off of you. Some people will see the favor that God has placed on your life, and they just want access to you. And if we are walking in the blind and don't know, who we are and how God has made up and what happens when we walk into a room, that in the favor and the power that we have, people can use and drain us, and will feel it but not understand, like, why do I feel this way? Or, you know if every time you help a certain person or group of people, you feel, zapped, and all your energy and all your things. So you just want to be mindful. And again, that's something I learned. I am still practicing to get it all together, but to be mindful of how you're showing up, um, with people, how you're showing up in people lives. Because at the end of the day, I need you. Even if you coming to me, I got to direct you to him. I'm not your God. I don't have all the answers. So just for us to be mindful of that. And if you have not read the story of Joseph, I encourage you to do so, because that's just what I hear in my spirit. Being there for others. Um, Not being so loyal to people that you get out of alignment with who God is and what he has told you, and the instructions of what he has told you and how you're supposed to do it, like all of the things. And so um that's another area to be mindful and aware of, and how you show up for others. I just told um my best friend this weekend, I said, you know what I realized? Our friend group is all the strong friends. We're all the strong friends. I said, we will be going through, we could have had a major life surgery, all of the things, and nobody would know. We'll just come back and be like, yeah, so, I was in hospital for 5 days. I had this going on, but God is good. And I was like, we gotta throw some other type of friends in there, so we're not walking around carrying stuff. And not that there's some seasons God is going to tell you not to tell nobody nothing, because he wants you to be solely dependent on him, but to also make ourselves aware that there are people out here that care about us. They're concerned about us. God is placing us on their hearts and their minds to intercede, to show up, to um, extend a helping hand, all of those things. So for my strong friends out there, it's okay to get soft. It's okay to get soft. It's okay to let those people in that are asking, or wanting, or asking, is there a need, or wanting to help, because we need that. Um, Visualize someone walking around a whole 24 hours with 10-pound dumbbells. And you may say it's only 10 pounds, but if you hold two 10-pound dumbbells in your hand for a whole 24 hours, the weight gets heavy. The weight gets heavy, where it no longer feels like you have 10 in this hand, 10 in this hand. It's feeling like 20, it's feeling like 30, it's feeling like 40. So, um, to be mindful and to remember that. But being there from others, I've learned I don't have to be there for everybody, and I don't want to be there for everybody. And even if in one season I was there, it don't mean I got to be there in the next season. And to include God in those different things, like, don't just be so quick to, all right, you know, and some parts of it is just what's the word I want to use? Like, you don't have to be deep in to be like, "Ooh, I see somebody in need. I could help, but Lord, do you want me to help?" Like we're supposed to community and take care of people. It's when it's the same people over and over, or it may be something that it is shift and affect your household. You do want to make sure that um, your help is in alignment with God, because if you keep helping the person that don't know how to budget, and every month they're asking you for money, every money they're expecting you to do this, and every month they're expecting you to do that, that is totally different from a person that has fell on hard times, or a person that life is just happening. We help. But when we enable, when we're enablers to people that just don't want to mature, grow up, do the work, and all those different things, when we sow into that, we ain't sowing in good soil. So I've learned to be mindful and aware, and I am more intentional about um calling out my seed. I sowed, I shall reap. Like that's the word. And so, you know, it's every season is going to change. What you was able to do in 1 year or 2 years ago, you may be far removed from that right now. And if you are not aware, you don't understand that, you could be um, causing damage to yourself because you're trying to operate in a way that God has no longer graced you for. Like you're supposed to be past that. So, in being showing up for people or how I'm there for other people, I'm also mindful about the season that I'm in. To know me is to know I'm a help in any capacity that I can. Um, my family and I are in a season where financially I can't help like that. And if we don't watch it, um, it by being aware of that, you can discount how you're still able to show up, and you can take away from God doing whatever he wants to do and how he wants to use you, because you're so fixed on, dang, I'm normally able to, financially do this, and in this season I can't do it. Then if I can't do that, then I ain't no good. I can't do nothing else. And if we get stuck on that, we'll miss all the other ways that we're able to show up for people. And so to I be mindful of your seasons changing and how you're able to show up in those different capacities and things for people, and even if you're supposed to show up, because there's some people out here that are really entitled because they feel like you did it once or twice. You just supposed to do it 3 and 4 times. They feel as though it's people out here that really count your money. Okay. And they feel like since you driving this or you doing this, there's no way that you shouldn't be able to sponsor or buy a ticket or do the things that you was normally doing. And so just to truly be mindful of how we're being there for others, to make sure that we are not doing it in our own strength, and to make sure again that when we are doing that, that we are sowing in good soil, not constantly helping the people that just don't want to grow up, that still want to be on milk when they should be eating steak. So learning these things have been learning and experiencing these things have been amazing, because you see God work and you have the ability to see God work in ways that you did not experience before, and you also are able to see how you are growing and maturing as a person. So, I definitely want to hear, y'all comments and feedback on just the changes with being there for others, or in even how you show up for yourself. In this season of my life, I am more intentional about my health. Not that my health has never been on my mind, because it has. But when you have a health scare in the body that you had the day before the scare, and you're now in this new environment now, it for me, it shifted a lot of things. It changed a lot of things for me. It helped me be a little bit more firmer on the no, or overextending myself, and seeing knowing what I can and cannot do. And without the experience, though, I wouldn't know that, and I wouldn't be able to be mindful. I wouldn't be um intentional about the changes, and have a more determined commitment about the changes. And so, not even just how we are showing up or being there for others, but how we are showing up and being there for ourselves. And um one of the things that I had prayed, maybe like the last 2 years, if not longer, I had been praying about, was me being more vulnerable. And the reason being, because me personally, I feel like there's just like this little pocket over here within me that um my personal life experiences going back to childhood, like it's not a problem this way, but it's just like this little pocket. And if I can tap into that, like I just see rainbows and stars coming out, like that's the last part. And so that was a prayer that I was praying. And a lot of what I was praying last year, right before I had my health scare, I was getting insight. The revelation was happening. Things that I had prayed about, the answers was, literally being put across a desk for me. And I, again, want us to not to forget ourselves when we are talking about being there for others, because if I'm not good, not that, not, and I need you to hear this, because of personal experience and other people's stories I read in the Bible, uh, God can use you and will use you when you are going through. You will still be a blessing and an answer to someone else. You can be. And for a lot of us, we have been, and or we will be. So it doesn't cancel out any of that. It's just that a work is just still being done, because none of us are perfect. None of us have it all together. But I had to pause right there and say that, because sometimes people feel as though if you are going through, that you cannot be used. And that is not so. We just have to be aware, mindful, and listen to God on how, so we're not bleeding on people. We have to care for ourselves so we can care for others. If we don't, we are no good for others. Exactly. And um, so what we do for ourselves, how we do the things, there's a lot of conversations that I want to have with older women, because let me tell you this, instead of y'all being so focused on how short our skirt was, or why we wasn't wearing slips, or who we was dating, or why we was in and out the church, instead of y'all being so concerned about that, y'all should have been talking to us about life. Okay, the things that happen as a woman. I don't understand why it took the year of the 2000s and 20s for me to know what perimenopause is and how menopause actually affects you. It should, and I'm surrounded by a whole lot of women, okay, in church and outside the church. And I'm like, ain't nobody ever had this conversation. And so, it's just things that we go through. And if we're not good and we're not taking care of ourselves, nothing else matters. So it could be a season that God is getting your attention and saying, hey, I need you to be serious about your health. I need you go back to the scripture about how your body is a temple, and we got to be mindful of what we put in it and how we treat it and all of the things. And my belief is from experience in the word of God that God speaks to us before the storm happens. He speaks to us during the storm. He speaks to us when we come out on the other side. It's, are we listening? Are we hearing him? And so, how we are showing up for others, how I've showed up for others, like I said, it has changed. And I thank God for the health scare, because it something where I would have been like, oh, okay, okay, okay. It minimized all the okays and focus. And although everything has not, is still a work in progress, changed overnight, that I'm intentional, I'm aware, I'm trying things, I'm adjusting it, all of the things. So it's one thing to be concerned with how you're showing up for others, and also how you allow people to show up for you, but to be mindful and aware that it's only one of us. It's only one of us. And never in all my life have I seen so many people in my age range not even just pass away, but things happen to them and life has changed forever. And so, um, my there's a lot of stuff you could take away. But um, my first, or one of my main takeaways would be, how am I showing up and there for myself before I show up and I'm there for others? And sometimes, as I said, it shifts. Some people are still maybe not even in our lives that we did so much for whatever reason. It could be valid, it could be because they was tripping, because we gonna say we was never tripping. But like, just, all jokes aside, just whatever the case may be. But the takeaway is, if being around you is affecting my mental health, or I could, it could be the other way around. Being around me could be affecting your mental health. Just all these different things, not to be loyal to a fault, not to be loyal to where it takes you out of a position with God and takes you off course on where he needs us to be. But it's, you know, for me, that people pleasing like just started off a lot of things. And I had to go back to my childhood, because I took that on, like having to show up, having to do, and it turned into that, you know. Um, but I was free now. But it turned into that. So I just encourage you, as I often say, to do a self assessment, look at what you have going on, to remember to include yourself, to be mindful of what you're putting out, and what you're receiving, to make sure that even when you are helping, that it shouldn't make you feel like, when you're helping, or you've helped someone, it should not make you feel like burdened down and all the things. So just for us to check in with how we're showing up for others, how we're showing up for ourselves, and to make sure we are not showing up for others better than we do for ourselves. And if we are, we need to take a pause and look into like, what is this about? And to be mindful and aware of seasons changing, and making sure that you're, in the right position and where you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be. And if your season changed, let's just say, like I said, you was able to, oh, you need that, I got that in it, and you may not be in that season, but now how can you show up differently from people? And even in that, what is God teaching you and showing you about yourself, the different capacities of who we are? Because oftentimes we put value on ourselves according to what we're able to do versus who we are in God. So I want to encourage you to look into that, and not just to feel good, but to look at it a whole scope. There's some relationships that are going to end. There's some relationships that are going to shift. You're going to find yourself, welcoming in new people and all of the things. So just it's just necessary. It's necessary, and important on how we are there for others, and how we are showing up. Next week is part 5. In that part 5, I am going to talk about, for part of it, being a, I don't even want to say being a mother, just talking about motherhood. Part of it is going to be talking about motherhood, and then whatever else God gives me share to close up this 5-part series. I thank you in advance for joining me. Please share this video. Please like this video and comment if you will. But again, just being there for others first, it's a self thing. And that's why I started with my journey of identifying your girl was a people pleaser. Okay. So, and how that has changed, and the different things that we just need to do to keep moving forward. Mark your calendars. Join us virtually for Cry Out on March 28th, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Save the date. The link is actually in the comments. So if you want to reserve your spot today, you definitely can do so. It's going to give you access. And as we get closer to, you will get the necessary emails and all of the things. Save the date again for the experience, which is going to be in person this year. Those dates are November 6th and 7th. So save the date for that. Again, I said there may be a pop up, a 1-day virtual pop up for that, but save those dates. And I thank you for joining me, and for your feedback in your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. I'm going to say heavy on the like and the share, because somebody needs this word, this encouragement, and it's some gems in here for somebody. Amen. Amen. Have a blessed one.